Hey y'all, hi. Okay, today I am going to try to swatch all of my single eyeshadows. That's the only agenda. It's not a declutter. I could see myself decluttering some as I go through because I haven't really checked in with every single eyeshadow in a while, so some of them might have gone off. We'll find out, but the only agenda here is just to swatch every single one of them and have that be the video. If this is your first time to my channel, then welcome. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Hannah. I really love beautiful things. I love makeup and I like reviewing new makeup, but I also really like spending extra special time with my pre-existing makeup, my old makeup. And my single eyeshadows are for the most part pieces of makeup that I've had for quite a while. So that's what this video is. If that sounds good to you, and if you enjoy this, I hope that you'll subscribe. And now let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. Okay, these are all the palettes containing single eyeshadows. They're not very well organized. I could also see myself organizing as I go through. But where shall I start? I think that I just want to start with the big palettes. I usually keep my square singles in this palette and my round singles in this palette. They've gotten mixed together. There's some square ones in here. There are some things in the wrong place. Maybe the first thing I should do is organize. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put everything back where it belongs. But before I start, I'm going to remove my rings because I know I'm going to be wiping and washing my hands a lot and they'll just get in the way. Okay, I think that that's it. We've got the squares and the circles in these two big palettes. This is the little custom palette that I just built a couple of days ago. I'm not going to dismantle it yet because I'm still using it. These are my shadows from Adept Cosmetics, and these are my shadows from Beshte Beauty, which actually just fell on their face just now this palette fell on its face just now when I was moving all my shadows around, and some little crumbly bits of some of these fell out. If you're curious about these shadows, I recommend watching the video that I recently posted that's all about them. And I talked extensively about their delicacy in that video and the reasons for it, but it's been clearly demonstrated here today because some of them have had to kind of be mushed back together. But as long as we're here, actually, as long as I'm touching them, I'll go ahead and swatch them. Okay, so those are my Beshte Beauty shades along with the shadows from the little custom rose palette, which I'm calling Histrionic Rose. As I go through, I'm going to tell you what each shadow is pretty much, but these two palettes of singles are my two most recently featured palettes of singles. So I'm actually just going to link the Beshte Beauty review down below, and I'm also going to link the video in which I built this little rose palette. So if you want more details on any of these eyeshadows, those details can easily be found in those videos. I've got to say, I was feeling a little daunted about this. I was like a little bit worried about what I'd gotten myself into. But in this moment, looking at this glorious hand of swatches, I'm not sorry I'm doing this. All right, while we're at it, let's knock out these shades from Lethal. I've also reviewed this little custom palette thoroughly, and I'll link that video down below as well. And actually, in this case too, I'm going to link the video instead of telling you the name of every single shadow as I go through. I'll swatch everyone, but if you want to know exactly which shades they are, check out my video about Lethal. So there's my Lethal palette, and I've got to say, in my experience, the Lethal shades don't all swatch well, especially the lighter colored mattes. They don't tend to swatch very well, but I love the way that they perform on the eyes, especially the lighter colored mattes. These mattes that haven't given very good swatches, those are the ones I tend to use the most in this palette. There's something about the quality that makes them perform well on the eyes that doesn't make them swatch well like this. Like, it's hard to get that intensity of pigment, but the pigment's really there when you start applying them. Okay, what's next? The ones I'm dreading the most are this huge collection of square shades from Adept. I love these eyeshadows, so I'm not saying that I'm like dreading swatching them. I think it's because they're not really available anymore. Most of them aren't available as singles anymore, and so I'm just showing you these shadows that I personally have happened to collect. But then I remind myself that the point of this video isn't to make you buy single eyeshadow. The point is to revel in what I already own, to show you how fun that is, and to encourage you to revel in what you already own. The point is basically that playing with makeup and using makeup is more fun than buying makeup. And so when I look at it that way, it shouldn't matter as much. It doesn't matter as much that most of these shadows aren't really on the market anymore. So I'm actually just going to dive right into these square shades. Okay, this is what we call powering through, my friends. And I'm not mad at it. Adept makes a beautiful eyeshadow. And I'm not sure what's going on in terms of singles right now, but they do sell palettes of singles that are stunning. So even though you might not be able to buy some of these eyeshadows, if this looks incredible to you, you can check out Adept's palettes. But my hope is that it's more going to be a thing where if one of these really stood out to you, if you're like, oh my gosh, that blue is incredible, that you can think of it as having reawakened a love of blue in you, and that will cause you to dig out your own blue eyeshadow. Just remember, colors look look slightly different on camera. Colors look different under different lighting conditions. So if you're seeing, for example, this blue and you're like, I have to have that blue, literally nothing else will do, and it has to be that exact eyeshadow made by the same company, the same formula, the same batch. Those kinds of passions for buying the exact product that is that color, that's kind of a marketing trick. I feel like the beauty industry has tricked us into thinking that when we see a beautiful blue eyeshadow that we love, the only way to get that is to buy that exact product. When in fact, what this blue looks like to you right now, with my lights and my camera, through my editing program, through to YouTube, which changes things a little bit, then through to your screen, probably what you're looking at, what you're falling in love with, is probably a little bit different from what the eyeshadow actually looks like. It doesn't have to be this one. None of these things have to be the exact ones. If something that I've swatched here has made you feel really excited, then that's great, because it's good to be excited about beauty and color and texture and art supplies and makeup. But my hope is that if you feel excited, that your first tactic will be to apply that excitement to products that you already own and see what you can do with what you already own. Okay, I'm gonna go wash off this arm so that I can keep going. But first I'll give you some good juicy close-ups. Y'all, when I went into the kitchen to wash my arm and my hand off, I saw all of the dinner ingredients laid out on the kitchen island where I had put them earlier. And then I looked at the clock while I was in there and I realized that I have to start cooking dinner in 10 minutes or it won't be ready on time. So I am going to go do that, and I'm going to have to come back and film the rest of this video tomorrow. You're going to see it all at once. Don't worry, all the other shadows will be included in this video for you. But when I jump to the next section, the lighting conditions might be slightly different. The sound might be slightly different. Who knows? I might have a different color of nail polish on. A lot can happen in a day. I'm going to come back and sit down tomorrow and swatch the Cliona shades and then all of the round shadows for you. So for you, I will see you in just a moment. For me, I'm going to sign off for now and go do a whole bunch of things. I don't even know what to say. I never do this, but I guess what I'll say is thanks for watching so far and see you tomorrow. Hey y'all, we're back. I hope that everything is the same and we can just proceed. We use artificial lighting so that we can get the truest possible color, but there's always a little bit of lighting from the outside coming in. So I was filming in the afternoon yesterday and today I'm filming in the morning, so it's probably going to be a little bit different, but it shouldn't impact the experience too much. And this is what's left. Oh no, I forgot about the Cliona shadows. Oh my gosh, wouldn't that have been horrible? All right, this is what's left. I'm gonna swatch all of these shades. These smaller square ones right here are my Cliona shades, with the exception of Kiln, which is currently part of that little teeny tiny rose palette. So you've already seen that. And then these two at the bottom are Natasha Denona singles that I've had for a really long time. They were sent to me as gifts. And I know that this one right here is Sienna, but I don't know what this one is called. This is very similar to two shades that are both in the Star palette, and I think it might be one of those. It's indistinguishable from pretty much both of them, and they are pretty much indistinguishable from each other. I can't recall the names right now, but there are two shades in the Star palette that look just like this. So that's what those are. When we get to them, you'll know what they are. And then the Cliona shades, I think that what I'll do is I'll go ahead and just swatch them in this order on my hand, and in the description box, I'll link them in the order of the swatches. So if you're curious about what any one of these is, you can check the description box. I also do have a video going through every single one of these Cliona shades that I filmed when they first entered my collection, and I'll link that below as well. I kind of like doing it this way because the finishes are mixed together. This is one of the glistening multichromes and the rest of these are glitter multichromes. And I just like that. I feel like it sort of disrupts our usual sense of what it means to collect makeup, to like have things in categories. Mixing them all together just makes it clear that each one is just its own special thing. And I like that. Here are these same shadows, but with a different light source. That kind of helps you really get a sense of how dynamic they are. Okay, and now these are all that remain. And these are the ones that are going to be harder to explain. Like I'm going to have to tell you kind of one by one what they are because it's a bunch of different brands and a bunch of different kinds of shadows all mixed in together. It will probably be easiest if I go brand by brand and kind of group them together. So I'm going to start with these shadows from JD Glow. These are my 5 JD Glow shadows. They are Unexpected, Good God, 365, Fairy Acid, and Opal. Definitely some of my favorite eyeshadows. The rest of these bigger round shades were all depotted from Juvia's Place palettes. And I don't remember the exact names of the shadows, but I'll try to link below the palettes from which they came. I'm actually not going to include the pressed glitters in this swatch video because I don't really think of them as eyeshadows. I think of them as a different kind of makeup that can enhance an eye look. And swatches of glitters can be really beautiful, but you know, they're also kind of repetitive. They just look like little reflective chunks of the materials that are pressed into these pans. So I'm going to put them aside for now. Okay, these are all of my ColourPop singles, and I believe that I purchased all of these myself at one time or another. I bought a couple of them at the end of 2017 before the start of my no-buy year, and then I bought another handful, I think in 2019, in my first year of budgeting. So these four are Baby Lights, Wait For It, Misty, and Pinky Promise. And I believe that ColourPop's inventory of single shadows rolls over all the time, just as all of its inventory pretty much does. So some of these are probably still available and some of them probably aren't. Here we have Mr. Sandman, Tinker Time, Team Captain. Oh no, this one's Team Captain. This is Paper Tiger and Team Captain. Those mattes are really not swatching very well anymore. And I never use them. Maybe they can go. Yeah, both of these mattes are eyeshadows that I bought in 2017, so they're really old. They are exactly 4 years old right now, and they aren't really swatching very well, and I never use them anymore, so I'm gonna declutter them. Here we have Martian, Glass Bull, Hear Me Out, and Millie. And you know what? Some of these are in the same position as the two that I just decluttered. I feel like Hear Me Out is also really old. That's one that I bought way back in the day. And I have other just well-performing pale cream shadows that I use if I ever need them, which I rarely do. Glass Bull is also one that I bought way back in the day. And if I'm ever going to use a shadow like this, I'm going to use one of these really exciting ones. I just don't use this anymore. Actually, come to think of it, the same is true. Oh, did I declutter Tea Garden and I kept Baby Lights? Yeah, Baby Lights, I bought Tea Garden in 2017 and it's already been decluttered. Baby Lights is newer than it, so I'm going to hang on to it for the time being. This last one down here is Meteorite, and it's one of all of these sort of corally mattes were part of the little custom palette that I bought more recently. Not super recently, but more recently, and I do like having them in my collection of singles. So that's it for ColourPop. And then the rest of these are kind of a random array. So these three right here are depotted Morphe shadows. I think all three of them are from the Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette. In fact, I'm sure that all three of them are. I think I even remember the names. I think that this one is 24/7, one of my all-time favorite eyeshadows. I think this one is Pool Party or something like that, or maybe not, but it was one of the ones on the bottom row. And then I think this is the one that was called Meeks. It might not be either, but if you have that palette, it shouldn't be too difficult to figure out what each one of these is. And if I can figure it out conclusively, I'll put it in the description box. And then this last one right here that I'm going to swatch, it's from the Sephora collection. It's number 56. I don't think that they make this anymore though. These ones, I'm just going to have to tell you what they are one by one. This is an Urban Decay single. It's Lounge. This is Queen of Mean, which is a Luxie shade. Oh no, I accidentally put that on my third finger. I'm so sorry, we're out of order. So the second one here is going to be Rage, which is also a Luxie shade. These two Luxie shades were gifts to me, and so was this one. This is a Colored Rain shadow called Forbidden. Again, we have Lounge by Urban Decay, Rage by Luxie, Queen of Mean by Luxie, and Forbidden by Colored Rain. This isn't a color that I wear a lot, but these shadows are so nuanced and grungy that I find it really hard to get rid of any of these shades. This is Golden Olive, also by Colored Rain, one of my most used eyeshadows when I'm building my own palette. This is Orion. It's a luxey shadow as well. This is Sydney Grace Defiance. I also end up using this a lot when I'm building my own palettes. This last one is Loose Change, which is also a Sydney Grace eyeshadow. And this last little one is my only Makeup Geek eyeshadow. It's Steampunk. It was also a gift, and I think it's quite old, but it just keeps going. Oh my gosh, that's it, y'all. We did it. Let me give you some close-ups. Okay, what fun this was. And it was messy and it was daunting, but it actually didn't end up being as messy and as difficult as I feared that it would be. I think that's partly because it's not a gigantic collection. It's not small, you know what I mean? It's not exactly a modest collection of single eyeshadows, but it's not palettes upon palettes and upon palettes. I feel like to me, it feels robust, especially because there are such interesting finishes. Mostly, like most of the shades have really interesting finishes, or even if the finishes are relatively straightforward, the shadows are really gooey, really rich, delicious, just the kinds of textures that I like to get my fingers into. I feel like what I've ended up keeping in this collection are the versions of each color that I like that is the most texturally satisfying. And that really helps me to talk myself down off the ledge when I'm tempted to buy a new eyeshadow palette that's just released to the market because I like the color story. Because given that most of my singles are really lovely colors to which I'm attracted and also the best of the best in terms of gooey texture, whenever a new palette is released to the market, even if the color story is like the most beautiful thing I could possibly imagine, it's almost invariably true that the textures in that newly released palette aren't as exciting and as satisfying as the textures of the single eyeshadows that I already own. And because I really love texture and it's the combination of texture and color that gets me excited, I'm almost always able to reroute my desire for new eyeshadow onto my existing collection. So this motley crew really helps me out in that way, and it's just super fun to play with. I hope that watching me swatch all these shadows has been fun for you. Again, I'll link as much as I can. It's tough to provide all of the information, like the full list and every single detail about every single shadow when there are so many in a video, but I'll do my best to give you the reference points that I can give to you. And I really hope you are remembering to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.